Dane, how are you, my man?
Good. Ready to get back to it. Got a great guest tonight and ready to inspire others.
Tonight's a big one. I got to tell you a little bit. Thanks for everyone out there giving us a little time. Had some vacations and time off, and a few weeks off feels like an eternity when you're doing this,
Yeah.
man. I'm more excited to get into it. I looked up a little stat as we get into tonight's episode, man. There's this gentleman we bring it on in a couple minutes. His name is Nathan Kirby, minister, jujitsu, great actor, believer. This guy just, I mean, you can't say enough good things about all that he's doing. He's chasing his dreams, man. Just get theirs. There's a statistic, Dan, that I read about that I had to share with you. 95% of adults, by the time they reach adulthood, give up on their childhood dreams. 95%. Isn't that a crazy statistic, right?
Mm. It's
And
one of
and
those things where it takes a lot of fortitude to keep going, and those that do it well, man. You really love to highlight them.
and the guy we're coming on tonight, man, he's one of those 5% that really is chasing it, is doing so many great things. We're gonna save some for him to talk about it, but you've seen him on so many shows, man. I don't want to spill the beans, but you've seen him everywhere. He's one of those actors where it's like, oh, that guy, he's that buff, good looking guy. But I love the fact that he's doing it with a good message, a good attitude, spreading his faith as well, and also just helping the next generation, man. So you know me, Dane, I got a little fanboyed out, had to kind of get the nerves out right down to it and bring on the legend himself, Nathan Kirby. Nathan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm so pumped, man. I feel excited about meeting me too. That was a great intro. I gotta tell you, that was so awesome.
It's all true, man. It's really good to meet you, dude. Thank you for taking time to do this. Like I said, I follow you closely. I love what you're doing. Your influence, what you're doing is just amazing. So I'm gonna jump right to the questions because again, I know you're a busy guy. When you look at what you've done, Nathan, I mean, an actor, like I said, with your ministry, you jujitsu, I mean, the commentary, you kind of touched on all these things that's become the Coach
Mhm.
Kirby brand. I'm curious, man, where it all began. When you go back, when you just maybe kind of found your calling, maybe it was the jujitsu, maybe it was the ministry. When did this brand of Coach Kirby begin for you, if you will? You know,
Wow. Okay. You said you were going to ask questions, but you didn't tell me that was the question. Uh, um, man, it's just been a wild ride. I'll tell you. There's a guy, Zach Day. I met this guy doing a men's event, and I remember having a conversation with him. He videoed me, and we were doing this interview. And I remember telling him, and we just spoke about this in Texas when I did a interview in front of a producer for a TV pilot. And he said, I remember you saying then that if God told you to go tomorrow, that you would pack up and go tomorrow. And I remember saying that. And I think that's the reason why I've been able to do what I've done over the last 15 to 20 years. And really lately, what I've accomplished over the last five. So I talked to a pastor last night. It's just weird that you asked me this question. He called me up. I did oh gosh, what's it called? When the tents, a revival.
yeah,
I was okay.
that's
So I spoke at this revival in Paragould, Arkansas, and this man called me out of the blue. It's been 5 years, and he said that God has put me on his heart. He wants me to write a movie. This is what the guy told me last night. But he left me with some parting words. He said, "You gotta circulate to percolate." And then he said, "You have to strike when the opportunity is hot. The once in a lifetime opportunity, why the opportunity has a lifetime." There's something recently that I've felt and discovered that I'm not dying, by the way.
yeah. Okay, good, good.
I don't know why I have this unbelievable cognitive knowledge that I am dying. And we all are, but
Right.
it's bigger than this. I don't want to sound stupid when I say this, but man, time is fleeting and I don't have much more
Mm.
of it. And I set some big lofty goals for myself. And I think as I was the one standing on the hill trying to be a light, I realized that I wasn't just saying it, I was actually doing it. And the more I did it, the more I said it. And the more I said it, the more I did it. And so Coach Kirby
Wow.
began because I did one thing, and then I did another thing. And then, I won Family Feud. I won Fast Money with Steve Harvey, and my son did this demonstration. And then I went on Wheel of Fortune, and I won the prize puzzle on Wheel of Fortune. I just got back from Maui. And then I went to the martial arts. I'm inducted in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame and I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm getting my second degree black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I started a movie, and then I got into another movie, and I just filmed with James Gunn, man. I just filmed the new Superman with James Gunn. I know the new superheroes that are coming out. I just filmed with John Cena 2 weeks ago. I'm filming with Harrison Ford, like I said, next week. I don't know how this began, and I don't know where I'm going, but I love the path that I'm on.
Well,
Mm.
not to jump, said something as Dane takes too. Man, you're spot on. We all have one life, and you are taking and you are capitalizing on that. And I'll say this, man. Again, this is my personal thought, but I love how I've always followed you, and I love how much respect and kind of glory and I believe God's blessing you. I really do. That's my personal opinion, but I see that about you. I watch what you do. I see how you're always giving to others. And I think that's part of it, man. I think when you're in the right time, your availability, you've got the goods, but you're also a humble guy that gives respect back to God. No wonder that it's happening. I'm so happy for you. It's really cool. So then go ahead,
Well,
man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they say, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move. When it's His time and He puts it on you, you got to do it, and you're never going to regret it. So all the things that you've done, with the acting, your MMA, I mean, all the list of things that you've just mentioned. When did you start in the realm of teaching and kind of inspiring others to that next generation to follow their dreams as well? When did you get that laid upon you to start doing that?
That's a good question. Actually, I know specifically when that was. I remember just breaking down in 2012, and I remember having a conversation with my pastor, a friend of mine in Sherwood at that church, Scott Harness, and I just told him that God put it on my heart that I was supposed to preach, but I wasn't supposed to be in a church. And it's a weird thing to have this calling, and my wife's like, I am no pastor's wife, and I'm like, I'm not a pastor, man. I could go to church and worship, and the next thing I know, I'm getting in my car going, mother effer, move out of the way. Yeah, I am not the holy one. I mean, I can lose my temper like that. So I'm like, how does this, I don't know why God put this on my heart, but I mean, I'm literally crying. I don't know what the answer is. But then in 2012, my whole life started to shift. I'd already been in Arkansas for 4 years from Iowa. I started teaching MMA. I started coaching. I opened up Rock City MMA. That's when I started in 2012. I became a John Maxwell speaker and a coach. It was this weird time of my life in 2001. I'm living in Iowa. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm pacing the house with this massive pressure on me, thinking I'm supposed to be the next Tony Robbins, and I've done nothing, and I've achieved nothing. I've accomplished nothing of note at all. I was a piece of trash, barely had my marriage under control. But there's this calling, like I'm supposed to be the next Tony Robbins. I don't know I don't know why. And that was in 2001, and in 2012, I went to John Maxwell and got certified and started. That's when I started Rock City. That's when I really started coaching MMA full time.
I think, man,
Wow.
you said, and Dane, this first thing that comes to mind when you're saying that, when you're like, man, why me, right? Man, I look at some of the heroes in the even Old Testament. A lot of the people that were used weren't perfect. Thank goodness that they're not perfect people. So I'm going back to this, man. What you said, like it's so humble. Even like why me, man? I hear this about you where it's like this. You're spewing the ability even when you're doing great things, and that's so hard to see. I think my kid calls it humble brag. Like you're doing a lot of cool things, but you're not being boastful about it. It's like here's what. Thank God. Like you're. I just think that's really cool, man. Influence. You're spreading a nice net of influence. So that kind of leads into my next question. Actually, when you think about maybe it's ministers in your life, or maybe it's even instructors or senseis, maybe what's one or two of the people that have really left a mark on you, like influence people that have influenced you. What's one or two huge influences in your life?
I've struggled with a father figure my whole life. I grew up three different dads, and I still to this day, that's my biggest weakness is that I'm always looking for. I just want to be loved, and I don't know if I'm doing enough, and I don't know if I can ever do enough, and I realize that's the flesh in me. And so before I found really a relationship with God in our life and how it changed our marriage, we had some people pour into us to give us this godly direction. My wife's friend Molly gave us a book that helped us go down the world of Christianity. And there was a gentleman in Washington, Iowa, Denny. Denny was one of my first male mentors. And then just through the years, I had just people positioned in, like you said, it's influence. It's the people of influence who I want to be of influence. And the whole reason why I'm doing this, I don't care if I become a famous actor. I am going to be, because of the position that puts me in, but not because I want to be famous. It's because I want the influence. A lot of people don't understand this. And I'm so glad you said it's a humble brag, because when people aren't doing what I'm doing and they see me doing this, it's too much of a brag to them. If I put it on social media, it's too much. Now what? I remember my own sister said to me one time, well, I hope this makes you happy. And that's coming from a place of emptiness from other people when I'm the one putting it out there. They have no idea what I'm going through. I go through hell
Right.
to get as far as I am. They have no idea the emotional anguish. They have no idea what it's like to sleep in a tent, 100 degrees in Atlanta when gunshots are ringing out because I'm chasing a dream and a goal. It's a lot easier to sit down and watch Housewives. It's so much easier to stay home and do nothing, or talk about going to the gym and then put it on social media that you're lifting weights. I mean, I'm doing it. And the
Right.
hardest thing to do is just keep those people on my level that I look at further away from me so I can't reach them. So I'm always chasing that, not things. My influence is going to come. The platform that God is going to give me is going to be the reason why I'm doing this. That's all it is for me. It's just a platform of influence. I'm just trying to be very humble about it.
I love that, man. Well, again, I think there's nothing wrong with. We always say, Dana and I talked about this a lot from our coaching days and all that. You have the humility, but you also have the talent. You got to have both. You have to have that will. So you do have the talent. Dane, help me out here with Flora, because I think we're saying kind of that context even in the coaching world. Yes, it's great to have humility, but thank goodness you've also got the talent too, because you got it going on. Dane, go ahead, because I'm me, Dan. I'm getting a little fan.
Well, even to add on to that, I mean, without the hard work, it's really fruitless. You got to have that willingness and something inside you that keeps pushing you forward, even through maybe some of the pitfalls that you've gone through and the tough times, and even some of the naysayers. So
yeah,
it's a great testament to how hard you've worked with where you're at now. So now going forward into 2024, we're in I guess, the downslide of 2024. What do you see on the horizon for yourself as far as, what you're doing with MMA, acting? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, some of the projects you're doing. What are some more of the things that you're particularly proud of that are coming up for you?
That you can talk about,
That you can talk about, I should say. Yeah.
I was already going in my head of what's coming up. So I've given myself a timeline. I've given myself a timeline on this. And a lot of people don't know why I'm doing this and what my timeline is. They don't understand the goals, but this has all been laid out clearly ahead of me. A few years back, I ran into a man named Jim House. He is the book carver. I ran into this man in Phoenix, Arizona, and he said, I need to write a book. And I've always wanted to write a book. And so I went through this process with him. He was so upset with me. And I kind of put the brakes on. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not ready. He's like, you have 4 books inside of you, 4 different books. You have so much. But I said, I'm not ready. There's something else that I have to do. And it took me a long time to process this. And finally, it hit me what I wanted to do. Next June, I'm 50 years old. I'm 49. I'll be 50 years old in a year. And all I'm going to do for the rest of 2024, the end of this year, I still have MMA tournaments, jiu-jitsu tournaments coming up for my school. I got MMA fights coming up. My son just came back from a camp in Miami. We're trying to get him a fight in November. I have another show I'm emceeing this weekend in Memphis. I'm going to Oklahoma. So I'm still, dude, give me a microphone. I come alive in that cage. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I love it. Okay? One day I will. I'm telling you, listen to me. One day, I just won one. I'm gonna announce a UFC event. I don't know when, I don't know where. I'm just waiting on that call to happen. I will announce one UFC event. I will be speaking in Australia. There's a prophetic word that I've been given, and I don't know why or when, but so I have 1 year from now until next June for my son to get into the UFC and for me to land a lead role in a feature film. That's it. And when that happens, June of next year, I turn 50 and I finally pen my book. And I will feel not that I've accomplished enough, but You guys know as a coach, it's a lot easier to help others achieve something when you've achieved it yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's going to be also respect and rapport that comes into this, and leadership comes in. And all the stuff that I've ever read was from what people have read. So
Yeah.
very little have I ever gathered from somebody that did it. So
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm the one. Okay, so in 2012, this is the I'm so ADD. I'm so sorry. This is how my brain works. So I'm going back to that first question. In 2012, I realized I didn't want to pastor a church because I'm not a shepherd, and I'm not supposed to. It's not that I'm not supposed to, but I'm not called to harvest the crops. There are people for that. I am supposed to be sowing a seed. And
Right.
that's
Right.
it. And now that I know what I'm supposed to do, that's my gift. So that's what I want to be able to do is, so I know the influence that I'll have by being in those movies or being a name or whatever it is, that influence will help me get in more stages and help me sell more books. And those books will help me get into more people's eyes and faces. And I'll be in those churches, not in the church, in the churches all around. I'll be able to be in these different places because of that book.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
You said I'm just the meat again, using those talents, because you got to think about this, musicians, athletes, artists. It's you're taking an avenue that's so amazing. Like, it's, to be honest, you don't hear that too often in the acting world. We're taking that route to really promote your faith. I mean, I've heard lots of great people, don't get me wrong, but you're using it as a platform because you want to spread the gospel. That's just fantastic. I love that,
Yeah.
man. It said something I had to write this down because it hit me. You said, I've read a lot of things that other people have done. I heard actually a minister one time say this. Most of the time when I read about great works, it's from people that are already dead. My heroes are from way back when. So the fact that you're talking about, let me do things while I'm alive, that is so motivational. Like, I want to give
Yeah.
back to not someone from 100 years ago that we're reading about that did it. You're talking about, I have a goal of a year. So what that sounds like to me is, Dan, you know this too, Coach, that just means we have to have you back on next June. We got to do
Yeah.
returning up. That way, when it's done, hey, man, let's talk about the goals of the next year. So it's just, you didn't know this, but you come back on next year, okay? Because we're going to talk.
That
But like
sounds good.
you put it, where you're talking about active heroes. So it just kind of stood out to me, man. But I got to transition because I also get a little bit ADD brain. But this section, I guarantee you, in all media, all things that you've done, I guarantee you in all interviews, you probably have not had a section like this. I intentionally didn't tell you about it. It's a segment called Rapid Fire. We do this to make you laugh. It's a little chuckle. It's all clean PG, but we ask 5 questions that would get real weird. Imagine during this segment, you can go back in time. Reality doesn't exist. Nothing is off the table. And what Dane and I do, we bet on what we think you're going to say. We have the questions, and we think we know what you're going to say. So it's kind of like we're betting on you. There's no wrong answer. You got it?
Okay. Okay. I'm excited about this. This is cool.
So it's kind of a Rorschach test of your personality. No wrong answer.
Yeah.
You want. Okay. And then me and Dan will tell you if we got it right or not. Okay. So on this one, we're going to go biblical for a second. You're called back in time. Check this out. You're called back to right after the early church was started. Apostle Paul and Peter, everybody's kind of doing their thing. And they, out of the blue, call you up and says, hey, Nathan Kirby, you're transplanted back in time. Let's play some basketball one-on-one. You can pick your opponent. You can go one-on-one against the Apostle Paul or one-on-one against the Apostle Peter. Who do you want to throw down against to play basketball?
Okay. Maybe Peter,
Okay.
because that man walked on water, so he can probably dunk.
That's awesome.
He might be able to, like Michael Jordan from the free throw line.
Oh, I love
So
it.
I think that might be a challenge for me. Although Paul would be the one, he's been through a lot more. But I think competitively, I think it might be Peter. He's the one like, I got this. Let me walk on water. Let's go.
Awesome, man. This perspective, that's really cool. So Kirby, I love it. Cool, man. So a couple more questions along that theme, man. Kind of resonating.
Wait, what was your answer? What was your answer?
I actually had Paul, so I got that.
No,
one.
I had Peter. I'm up one.
So I was trying to slide by because I know I got it wrong. Thanks, Dane. You got that one right. So question 2, Dane, you're ahead of me by 1. So question 2, Nathan. You're transplanted back into the Old Testament. Check this out. They're picking you up. Kind of a little different than announcing the MMA fight, but you're called back into the Old Testament, and your job is to commentate the crossing of the Red Sea. So here's the kicker. You're commentating the crossing of the Red Sea, and your partner to commentate this event. Check this out. You can choose Joshua or you can choose Aaron to help you commentate the crossing of the Red Sea. Which one are you going with?
I don't know if anybody would want to sit next to me because I would hog that microphone because all I'd be waiting for is the troops coming behind them like, all right, here it is. Here comes Jesus, and he's cutting off the water, and down they go.
He's so good. Okay, but if you had to choose, though, you got to pick one. So you're going Joshua, I assume? Is that what you're going with?
Joshua.
Okay, got it. Dane, what'd you have on that? I actually have Joshua.
Yeah, I had Joshua on that one.
Okay, so
because it's your namesake there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Dane's got one on me. Okay, so one. They're making a part 3, first 2 Space Jams. I loved it. We're going back to present day. MJ's was great. LeBron's was great. They're going to have you do the 3rd Space Jam. Now check this out. You get to pick your cast. We're going away from Looney Tunes characters, and you get to pick your cast for Space Jam. You can choose to have the cast of The Simpsons or the cast of Real Monsters for your Space Jam. Which cast of cartoons are you going with?
What's Real Monsters?
Oh, you never seen Real Monsters, man? You don't know, like it's a classic Nickelodeon cartoon. Oh, my heart is hurting. The guy that has the eyeball hands, the girls in umbrella. Oh my goodness. Well, that's your homework. You got to look at.
I know Monsters Inc.
No, Real Monsters, man. It's a classic Nickelodeon show, man. Real Monsters.
I don't know.
He's gonna.
What was my other option?
You had Real Monsters or you had The Simpsons as your cast.
See, I didn't even watch The Simpsons. I didn't watch American Guy, Family Guy. I didn't watch the Outer Space Alien one. I didn't watch that stuff. So I'd have to pick The Simpsons.
Okay. I had The Simpsons. I did because I knew it was I just had this feeling. Dane, what'd you have on that? You have Simpsons?
Yeah, I had The Simpsons because we're roughly the same age, so we've seen it from the outset.
How about the cast from Fraggle Rock? Take me back to my Nickelodeon days. Let's get to maybe the Fraggle Rock or where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I'm 50.
Yeah, man, that's okay. I'm almost 40, so I figure we had a little bit of that's all good.
That's no decade. We're missing a decade there.
I never thought I would hear Carmen Sandiego again. I used to watch that when I was a kid too.
The world is Carmen Sandiego.
Great. Dude, man, hey, that's a great show. Okay, Dane, you got me by 1. Let me see if I can catch up on this next one. Check this out. Action movies, right? So we're talking about going action. Okay. Both franchises are popping, they're coming along, and they want you to be the villain in this next installment. You can be the next T-1000 in Terminator, okay? Or you can be the anti-RoboCop in the next coming RoboCop. T-1000 or the bad guy in RoboCop, which one are you going with?
T-1000, especially because of the movie, because it's going to last longer. It's Terminator. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It goes down in history. RoboCop is one and done. I mean, a Terminator, all right? Okay. And I love playing the villain. My favorite thing I've been cast in lately has been the bad guy. I really like playing the bad guy. It's been fun.
I love it. Dane, I actually had RoboCop. I'm a little hurt on that one because I'm a huge RoboCop fan, dude. I love it. That's okay, though. Dane,
I love the original, okay? I'm thinking Judge Dredd. But either way, I did like RoboCop come up, but there's nothing like Terminator, man.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
Iconic.
Sarah Connor.
Take it. It's John Connor. Yeah, did you have Terminator? What'd you have on that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had Terminator for all those reasons and more, probably.
Okay. Well, so I have at best maybe a chance to tie you, Dane. So you have 2, I've got 1. So, Coach, last question of this. Okay, this is question 5, and it's the final question. Got to swing back a little bit into the Bible stuff for this. They're doing an auction. Okay, so check it out. You're kicking it with King David. They're doing some auction of his awesome gold stuff, like his precious gold and all that. Having a party, you're doing a fundraiser. They ask you to be the auctioneer. So check this out. Auctioneer, you're there. You're the one running the show. There's 2 people that can help you commentate again with this that you can bring back in time with you. So it's you, and you get to pick your partner to help you make this auction. Check it out. Harry Carey, bring it back in time with you, or John Candy, take you back to the David auction. Harry Carey, John Candy, who's coming back with you in time to help do this auction for King David?
Okay, I want to hang out with John Candy, just so you know. I want to choose him, but especially if it's for an auction, there's no voice like Harry Carey's voice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Bears fan. Chicago Bulls, Chicago Bears, Chicago Cubs, okay? You cannot get any better than Harry Carey.
Love it. Okay, I got that one right. Dane, did you have Harry Carey?
Oh yeah, that Harry
Oh,
Carey. He's an
well,
man icon, and you can't go away from guys like that. And
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 it,
and with him, you never know which version you're going to get.
yeah, that's true. That is very true. Well, Dane, I say that you beat me. Congratulations. I'm a good sport. So I'll send you your lunch. I'll DoorDash you some Taco Bell. Well, Coach, hopefully that segment is something a little different you never had before. So I appreciate you being a good sport. Dan, let me give it back to you for the last segment.
On this last part, we call it an open mic. We open up the floor to our guests to maybe talk to some of those younger viewers and listeners, or even anybody that's out there looking to chase their dream. All the
Mm.
things that you've done, all the hard work you've done, and obviously you're not done yet. Is there maybe a word or two you can leave them, possibly something you followed, maybe a mantra or philosophy that you can leave in their ears to kind of help them along their path and maybe inspire them to chase their dreams as well?
Hmm.
How long do I got?
As long as you want, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, this is the nearest thing to my heart that I cannot, this is the cry of my heart for everyone else. I don't understand why not. I don't understand why you don't think it's your time, and why don't you think it is now? Why not you? Why not now? Why not whatever that is? God put that in you, and that is only you. You're the one to write it, to sing it, to do it, to fight it, to play it. You're the one. You cannot squander that gift. And the more you do, the more you run away from it, the more it's going to ache and eat outside of you. You will never, ever, ever feel complete because you're running away from what God wants from you. This is what I do know. Everybody talks about the Bible, talking about 365 times the Bible says, have no fear. No, it's more than that. The NIV version has almost 500 times it talks about fear. And why is that? Because there are two types of fear: fear of the Lord, or the spirit of fear. I did not give you the spirit of fear, but a power, strength, and self-control. The spirit of fear is the spirit of the devil. That is not what God gave you. He gave you strength, sound mind, self-control. He gave you a purpose. And when you understand what that purpose is, everything else falls away. There is no anxiety when you have a focus on gratitude, and that attitude changes everything. When you're thankful for what you've been given and you focus on what you're supposed to be doing, everything else falls away. Who cares if the other wheel's going to fall off? Who cares if there's not going to be any money or going to be any lights? It doesn't matter. When you realize the other stuff doesn't matter, that's when you'll be able to stand up and go forth and whatever God wants you to do.
Wow.
All I know is this: God gave it to you, whatever it is on your heart. I sit here and I watch American Idol, and I sit here and watch AGT, and I watch people get up there and they chase that dream. And when they hit that golden buzzer, when I'm crying when I see the mom and the dad cry, not because they're happy they won, because they're happy they're watching their child. This is God. Think about this. You are a child of God, and how happy is he when you get closer and closer to what he has called for you to do and for you to be? That is what I want to cry out to everyone. Get up and go. You have now the day you're born, the day you die, and that little dash in between. That's the life that you have, and whatever glimmer and flicker that you can give it, man. This is it. It's a very narrow, and that legacy will live on for the rest of your life. What you do with it is up to you.
Wow.
Wow.
Dane, you see why I love this guy, right? Just
Yeah,
he's
absolutely. I mean,
need to
I,
hear. This is, yeah. Help me out here, Dan, because
I was
I
just
get.
say, it makes you just want to get up and do it all today. But like you said, that perseverance is something that is
Yeah.
something that's got to keep you going. All the motivation in the world ain't going to help you. It's just the discipline to do it is what's going to get you there. And I mean, hearing words like that from somebody who's accomplished so much and does it well and is still
Can
hungry,
I
I mean,
say
it's
something?
inspiring. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because as I'm saying this, it sounds like it's great and everything, but I I have to be able to say the other side of that is that I still have doubt that doesn't go
Mm-hmm.
away. And fear can rise up, but I don't let it control me. And there are so many times that I do want to quit. I want to say that this is very hard. I have people telling me, I have people that are telling me that I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to go anywhere. People tell me that it's going to take me 4 to 7 years. People are telling me, I have people in my own circle that just, the small little digs. Oh, how's your little acting thing going? How's your little MMA school? How's your, oh, don't you have like a little tournament? They want a minuscule and and I
Diminish.
minimize everything that I do.
Mm.
And it's not an easy thing. I want to give up. I want to quit. It would be a lot easier for me to stay at home and eat junk food and get fat and accept that I'm 50 and stop doing and going and just be. But I just feel like the calling is too great for me, that something is coming that I haven't done it yet. Whatever that is, I don't know what it is, but I just don't want anybody to think that this is some, I'm not running on rainbow Skittles here. This is the depths are real. The devil still rears his head, and I gotta beat that. I gotta fight depression. I gotta fight doubt. I gotta fight the despair. I gotta fight it every day. But that dedication and determination and that grit and that decision, I say this all the time. There's nothing that I can do to you. But when you decide, and once you decide, nobody's going to stop you. Until you decide, nobody can help you.
Man,
Wow.
the way you're putting it together, coach, because it's no wonder that people gravitate to you. And man, I'm not just saying this. You're talking about the good and the struggles, and you're being real, man. I keep going back to when I think about people I read about Old Testament. I look at David's life, right? Kind of a kid, kind of having self doubt, doing it all throughout history, not just Bible, but people, great men, women and men of all time. They've always struggled with doubt, even when they had a gift. So you're being legit. You're being real. You're not saying there's no bad days. There's bad days, but I fight through it. Your
Yeah.
discipline, your faith, your
Mm.
work ethic, helping you push past the doubt and not give up on your dream. Man, I'm just fired up. I want to go do something tonight, Dan. Let's go for a run, Dan. That's crazy because you're just going to ask that, Dan, because he's just spot on.
Yeah, I mean, as you were talking about fear and all that, what's the two things of fear? Face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. What's your choice?
Yeah.
Whatever God puts in your heart, you'll do the former, and
Wow.
Yeah.
you'll chase your dreams to whatever end they are, and you're going to inspire others as you go.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are, because we found you, and everything I've seen on you, just inspirational, and like Josh said, makes you just want to get up and run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm not liable. Okay.
no,
I'm not taking liability for that.
not tonight, man. I got stuff to do, so I won't do any running tonight. I meant what I said, man. When I first was
Yeah.
able to be connect with you, man, it's been about a year now, and you're a busy guy. I was so blessed when I told Dan that I got a hold of you. He was like, "What?" Because it was a big deal, man, getting a hold
Yeah.
of you. Because I love what you stand for. I love everything about you. I love your drive. I love your work ethic. I love your positivity. I love your realism, and I love the way you're trying to spread the gospel through a very unique way. You get to meet a lot of people that may have not heard about the gospel in the way you're sharing it, and you're doing it in a very, very unique way, man. So my hat goes off to you.
Yeah.
Honored to meet you. I do say once you come on once, we got to make this a thing again. We got to have you on again. Please be
Okay.
open to come here as we kind of hear more about your endeavors. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Hey, I forgot. I want to give a shout out to my buddy
Yeah.
Johnny Free and Larry Ledford. This is his design. He's got a big event coming down to Georgia outside of Atlanta called Swing for a Cause, and it's veterans versus celebrities. And the celebrity lineup, the country singers he has, the MMA fighters, boxers, Butterbean, Dallas Diamond Page, and then all these veterans, military veterans, SEALs, they're going to be here. So I'm going to be down there emceeing and hosting and having a good time. So that's coming up in September. So if you guys want to donate, if anybody, like I said, I wore this just because I met him on Cobra Kai, and it
yeah,
was just these amazing meetings that God has prepared for me in advance, that I'm meeting these people along the way. They're changing my life. And I've been able to meet Larry. He was an amazing guy, and this is his brand. So I just wanted to give a good shout out, the Lion and the Lamb.
please, man, send me the. We'll make sure we share it once posted. If you can DM me the link, man, I'll be happy to share it. Put some buzz
Absolutely.
around it.
Yeah, I
Appreciate.
appreciate it. Thank you.
I
I
wish
know it
we
means
could
a
make.
lot.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. So send it to us and we'll share it. So, Coach, again, I know it's late. You're a busy guy. I make this promise, man. Please let's make this a recurring thing, and we'll be staying in touch. And we love you, and we'll get this out to the world as soon as we can. Okay. So, thanks, Coach. Much love, brother. Have a great
Love.
night, man.
Thank you guys.
Talk,
God bless.
Thank you
Coach.
for your time.
Bless. So, Dane, I'm telling you, man, wasn't that guy just amazing? Doesn't he just make your heart just full? Just joyful guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like he said, timing is everything. If you God puts things in what you need to hear when you need to hear it. And you come off of as particularly with us, you come off of a season of our kids playing ball, getting ready to ramp up for the next season. You need a word of inspiration or two, and this comes along at the right time to help rebuild themselves or continue to build themselves. And it's a great message always. And I love the way he puts everything, so emotional about it, and rightfully so. I mean, I was getting pretty pumped up myself. I got to calm down a little bit here.
Think about like because I mean we make notes about this, man. We're blessed. This is about 300 episodes in, and he said something, man. Like he looks like not a day over 25, and he said 4 down. I was like, get out of here. But he looks very very well put together, right? You can tell he takes care of himself and takes it serious. There's some people that get to their later 40s and 50s and they just kind of like give up on their dreams, man. It's cool, like because he's not old by any means, but you know what I'm talking about. Life
Yeah.
hits, you get your 40s and you just kind of settle in and say this is as good it's going to get. He's constantly climbing the ladder, man. The stories he said about kind of being intense, like doing shows and sleeping outside, like virtually homeless to get the job done to where he is now. That's inspiring, man. Like he's talking about the grind and it pays off if you just stick with it. You get that from him? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's never too late. Like he said, that dash between life and death is just where you make
wow.
it all happen. You know?
Wow. Dane, that was one where that'll be one of the we'll rack that one. That's a legendary
Yeah.
interview. We've been blessed for 2 years now to have great people come on the show, but
Yeah.
his past talks about just taking charge of your life. That's something I needed to hear, whether it's on the weight loss journey we're doing, or getting back into the running thing, or coaching, or just or the season ahead. So I will say this: we're taking an interesting direction in season 4. You're going to hear a little bit more of Dane and I than maybe what you used to in the past of our thoughts on things. So it's going to be a great season. We've got a lot of shows lined up till the end of the year. So plenty of content. But again, that was a great way to kind of kick off August and in the fall season. So on behalf of course, Coach Kirby, Dane and I, don't forget as always that we love you. And Dane,
Thank you for listening.